got one we really got outrun. Bad.
Do you realize he got to where he was by racing nobody? He backed out of a race he had locked in with me.
They tried to warn us about Reaper long before the fire, the losses, and the chaos, but no one paid attention. Now, the truth is burning its way to the surface. What did they see coming? Join us as we uncover how it all happened. For the love of speed. James Goad, better known as Reaper, became one of the most talked about names in the street racing world. He didn't just show up and race. He built his way up, step by step, through hard work and a deep love for speed. His name became known across the country after his appearances on the hit show Street Outlaws. But long before the cameras followed him around, he had already shaped his identity as a racer. He grew up in the United States, and from a young age, something about fast cars pulled him in. He didn't let go of that interest. Instead, he got deeper into it as he got older. He would spend hours looking under the hood, turning wrenches, and trying to figure out how engines worked. He didn't just watch others race. He got his hands dirty and worked on cars until he understood everything going on inside them. That effort helped him move ahead in the street racing scene. Over the years, James pushed himself to become better and better behind the wheel. He didn't back away from challenges. He jumped into every opportunity to race, and each win helped him build his name. Other racers started to notice. They saw how he could take control during intense races and how he stayed sharp under pressure. That's when the nickname Reaper started to stick. People around him gave him that name because of the way he handled himself on the track. It wasn't just about speed. It was about the way he carried that presence, that edge that made others take a step back. Things really took off for him when he joined the cast of Street Outlaws. The show followed real racers, showing their struggles, wins, and losses. Being part of that show changed everything for James. Viewers who had never heard of him before suddenly knew who he was. They tuned in to watch him race, to see what he would do next. With each episode, more fans began to cheer him on. The exposure from the show didn't just bring fame, it brought more doors his way. Sponsors came forward, racing shops wanted to work with him. His name carried weight in the industry, and that helped him grow both his brand and his business. It wasn't just about being fast anymore. It became about managing a career that stretched beyond the track. James Goad turned his love for cars into a full-blown lifestyle. He built up respect in the racing world, not only because of what he did on the show, but also because of how he kept pushing through the ranks long before the cameras showed up. Everything he earned came from the long nights in the garage, the races that tested him, and the choices he made along the way. However, at some point, he had a very painful experience. A heavy loss. A race car is much more than just a machine to a racer. It holds all the effort, time, and money they've poured into it. Every small part has meaning. Every scratch tells a story. Racers build up their cars piece by piece, staying late in the garage, putting in hours they never count. They test the engines, adjust the frames, and fix every single detail to make sure everything runs perfectly. So when something goes wrong, even if it's small, it hits hard. But when the whole car is lost, it's something that breaks them inside. James Goad had this exact nightmare come to life. He didn't just lose a piece of his work. He lost both of his Camaros in one terrible moment. These were not just regular cars. These were his pride and joy. They had taken years to build, modify, and perfect. But on the way back from a racing event, everything went up in flames. James and his wife, Stacy, were heading back home after Reaper's all-star no-prep event at Extreme Raceway Park in Texas. It had been a long weekend, but things had gone well. The mood was good. They were driving through Oklahoma with the trailer behind them, carrying the cars, when things started to go wrong. Stacy was the first to notice something. She looked back and spotted a glow coming from the trailer. At first, it looked like a spark, maybe something small, maybe something to ignore. But it didn't stop. She let James know what she saw, but he couldn't see anything in the side mirrors. He thought the safety chains were dragging on the road and causing sparks. Still, something didn't feel right. Stacy saw the light again. This time it looked stronger, brighter. Then the trailer light suddenly went out, but the glow behind the trailer stayed. It was clear something bad was happening. James didn't waste time. He pulled over the RV and got out to check. As he walked toward the trailer, he noticed the red-orange glow shining through the cracks in the doors. It was spreading fast. He ran back to the RV and grabbed a few fire extinguishers, hoping to stop the fire before it got worse. He moved as fast as he could, rushing toward the trailer's side access door. But when he opened it, he was met with something terrifying. Flames had already taken over the entire front of the trailer. The fire had spread fast, and it was burning everything inside. James didn't stop. He knew what was inside, both of his Camaros, the cars he had built from the ground up. He had worked on them with his own hands, stayed up late at night fixing problems, improving performance, and getting them race-ready. Seeing them burn was like losing a part of himself. Even though it was dangerous, he still tried to fight the fire. He aimed the extinguishers at the flames, but it wasn't enough. The fire had already grown too big, and the smoke made it hard to breathe. The heat pushed him back. The flames had already started to spread fast, and he knew the situation was getting worse by the second. He broke out the window of the Reaper Camaro, trying to reach the fire system. Since the car was down low, he had to move quickly. He pulled the system, hoping it would help bring the fire under control. But nothing happened. The fire kept growing. He had done all he could at that moment. The damage was done, and there was no way to pull the cars out in time. The flames swallowed both Camaros. Metal melted, paint peeled away, tires exploded from the heat. Years of hard work disappeared in just a few minutes. The trailer itself was destroyed, blackened from the inside out. Nothing could be saved. This loss hit James deeply. The cars were part of his identity, a big part of his life on the track and in the show. Watching them burn left him with a kind of pain that only someone who builds cars from scratch could ever understand. Back to the scratch. With no way to stop the flames, there was nothing left to do but move away and wait for help. They parked on the side of the road, watching it all fall apart. The fire department was called right away, but the flames had too much to feed on. Methanol filled both cars. In the trailer, there were 2 extra jugs of it. That fuel only made things worse. The fire moved fast and burned everything in its path. No one could figure out how it started, but it seemed to begin near the front part of the trailer. That area had a battery used to power the jack and lift system. Something must have gone wrong, but there was no time to find out. Everything they had worked on was gone. The race cars, which had taken so much time and energy, were now beyond repair. Photos and videos taken during the fire showed just how strong the flames had become. It was clear from the footage that nothing could be saved. James later posted a video online that captured the full destruction, and it shocked everyone who saw it. James and Stacy had poured years into building those cars. Their lives had grown around racing, and everything they did seemed to connect to those cars. The work never stopped. They had stayed up late on many nights, making repairs, traveling across states, and getting ready for races. The cars had become more than just machines to them. They had turned into a big part of their lives, something that held meaning and memory. After the fire, both of them struggled to face the loss. Stacy tried to deal with what had happened, but the shock had not worn off. She couldn't stop thinking about the time they had spent with the cars. The damage hit hard. What used to be beautiful and powerful vehicles were now burned-out frames. Nothing looked the same. Even walking into the shop had become painful. The sight of the blackened shells sitting in the space where they once prepared for races brought back too many memories. James was affected even more. The fire had taken away more than just metal and wheels. It had taken away the heart of his passion. He had always given his best to racing. Every step he took had been toward building something greater, but now all of that effort had gone up in smoke. The idea of starting over seemed impossible. He felt drained and unsure if he could go through it again. For 5 years, James and Stacy had built their world around racing. They had followed the Street Outlaws series and the No Prep King circuit with full dedication. Their home life had changed because of it. Every trip they took, every plan they made, had the cars involved. They had carried these machines from one place to another, always preparing for the next big moment. The fire didn't just destroy the cars. It pulled apart a way of life they had worked hard to keep going. Everything he had put into those Camaros, the tools, the parts, the sweat, the long nights in the shop, had been taken away in one unexpected disaster. This wasn't just about money or material things. It was about passion, history, and the deep connection between a racer and his car. James Goad didn't just lose 2 race cars. He lost something much bigger. And that kind of loss stays with you for a long time. The damage left them with nothing to race and no clear path ahead. Their shop, once filled with energy and excitement, now felt empty. The loss settled in more with each passing day, and the thought of rebuilding from scratch felt too heavy to carry. The fire had left scars they couldn't see, but could deeply feel. But all was not totally lost. Fortunately, James Goad still had something to fall back on. Asset portfolio. James Goad built his name in the world of street racing through years of hard work and a strong drive to keep moving forward. He stood out not just because of the way he handled his car, but also because of the way he carried himself both on and off the track. Fans started to gather around him, drawn in by his strong personality and the way he connected with people. Over time, his supporters helped push his career even further by showing up at races, buying his gear, and spreading the word about everything he was doing. As his reputation grew, so did the number of races he entered and won. He didn't just win small events. He showed up at big, high-stakes races and left with major victories. These wins brought in prize money, but they also gave him a respected name in the racing world. People began to see him as someone who had really earned his spot at the top. These achievements didn't just happen by luck. He kept pushing through the hard times, always finding a way to stay ahead of the competition. Over time, James Goad started to build more than just a racing career. He turned his name into a brand and made sure to grow it in ways that brought in steady income. One of the ways he did this was by creating and selling merchandise linked to the Reaper brand. Fans could pick up everything from t-shirts to racing parts, each item carrying the strong image he built over the years. This side of his work gave him another way to bring in money, and it kept his name in people's minds even when he wasn't racing. As he earned more, he didn't let the money sit around. Instead, he looked for smart ways to grow it. He put money into real estate, buying properties that could either be rented out or sold later for a higher price. These investments gave him more than just short-term gains. They helped him set up a solid future that wouldn't rely only on racing or television deals. He made sure his income came from different places, so he would always have something to fall back on, no matter what happened in the racing world. His spot on reality television added another layer to his success. The exposure helped him reach even more fans, and the platform gave him the chance to show a larger audience what he could do. With each episode, more people saw his skills, his energy, and the way he handled pressure. This extra attention brought in more fans, more opportunities, and even more sales for his merchandise. The connection between the racing scene and television world worked in his favor, and he made the most of it by staying active and involved. By 2024, his efforts had added up to a net worth estimated at $2.2 million. This number didn't come out of nowhere. It came from years of showing up, winning races, selling products, investing in property, and building a strong, lasting brand. Every move he made came from a mix of passion and planning. He knew how to push forward in the moment, but he also took the time to think ahead. His journey, from racing on the streets to becoming a well-known figure with a wide following and a strong financial base, shows how someone can turn a passion into a full career. He built his life around racing, but he also added layers to that career by branching out and staying smart about his money. Through every turn and challenge, James Goad kept moving up, and now he stands as a strong figure in both racing and business. Friends that stick. Back in 2012, James Goad decided to take his 1964 Malibu out to compete in Hot Rod's Drag Week. The car was well kept and powerful, with a big block engine boosted by nitrous oxide. It wasn't the kind of vehicle to go unnoticed. At that time, Goad wasn't yet racing the Reaper SS Camaro or appearing on TV. He was still putting in work at street races and track events around the Midwest. He believed his Malibu could handle Drag Week, so he got it ready for the Power Adder Modified class and brought it out to face the challenge. From the start, Goad ran into several problems. His car kept acting up. Every time he tried to get through the week, more issues came up. Most of them were linked to the nitrous system. No matter how hard he pushed the car, something always went wrong. The struggle didn't stop him. He kept pushing forward, determined to finish the week no matter what. The goal was simple: reach every stop, make every pass, and not give up. And that's exactly what he did. Even with all the problems along the way, he still managed to place second in his class. He didn't win, but finishing Drag Week under those rough conditions was a major achievement. But that race turned out to be about more than just the results. During one of the long days spent trying to sort out the nitrous issues, Goad ended up talking to someone new, Monty Smith. Smith had built a name for himself in the racing world as a true expert in nitrous oxide systems. He had helped a lot of racers figure out their problems. He wasn't just smart, he was always willing to lend a hand and share what he knew. When Goad crossed paths with him during that hard week, something clicked. They kept in touch after that first meeting, and over time, their connection turned into a strong friendship. The two racers grew close. They traded ideas, worked on setups, and helped each other get better. Goad looked up to Smith and leaned on his knowledge more and more. Their bond didn't just stay in the garage. It followed them to the track, the street, and every race in between. As the years passed, Monty Smith played a big role in shaping how Goad approached the sport. He wasn't just someone to call when there was a problem. He became part of Goad's racing life. What started as just another meeting in the racing world soon turned into something much deeper. They became close, not just as racers, but as friends who pushed each other. Monty's knowledge and experience pulled James in even more. Their connection grew stronger with every talk, every shared plan, and every laugh on the track. But their growing friendship didn't last as long as it should have. Unfortunately, in March 2017, everything changed when Monty Smith passed away. The racing world felt the loss deeply. Monty's unexpected demise hit Goad hard. For him, it wasn't just a loss. It felt personal. He had lost a friend, a mentor, and a partner who had stood by him through the toughest times. But Goad didn't want the memory to fade. He wanted to do something that would carry Smith's spirit forward. He decided to build a tribute car. He went all in. This new project wasn't just another race car. It was built in memory of Smith, made to honor everything they had worked on together. The car would be taken back to Drag Week, where their journey had started. And there was no doubt about one thing: the new ride had to run on nitrous. That was Smith's specialty, and Goad wouldn't have it any other way. And that was it. A tribute of honor. For over 2 years, James had been putting his time and energy into building a twin-turbo Nova for Drag Week. Every detail had been thought through, every part carefully chosen. He was close to finishing it when Monty passed. But something shifted in James after that loss. The car no longer felt right. Even though it was fast, even though it had power, James couldn't stop thinking about Monty's words. Every time he thought about driving it, he imagined Monty's voice in his head. He couldn't get past it. So he made a big decision. He talked to Travis Quillen about changing the car. Instead of keeping the twin turbos, he wanted to switch the Nova over to nitrous. Just as he was making plans to carry out that change, something unexpected happened. Someone offered to sell James his old Malibu back. That car wasn't just any car. It was the one that had brought him and Monty together in the first place. The moment felt right. He didn't hesitate. He went ahead and bought it back. But getting the Malibu back was only the beginning. When he picked it up and looked through it, he realized there were several problems. The suspension had issues that needed to be fixed before anything else could happen. And if he wanted to compete in the Power Adder Modified class, he had to run a 7.50-second quarter mile or better. That meant more work. The chassis had to be rebuilt and upgraded. Every little thing added pressure to an already tight schedule. The clock was ticking, and the filming for Street Outlaws had already taken up so much of his time. He found himself way behind. There was no way he could do everything on his own. So he brought in someone he trusted deeply, Jeff Lutz. Jeff was known for getting things done, and James needed that kind of help more than ever. Together, they got to work. He poured his energy into the build. Every piece, every wire, every adjustment. He handled it with care and purpose. This car wasn't just about speed. It carried history, friendship, and the kind of respect that comes from shared effort and real loss. Through this tribute, Goad could find a way to hold on to what Monty Smith had given him, and when that car hit the track, it would bring everything full circle. The team pushed through long days and even longer nights. They tore the car apart, piece by piece, and rebuilt it with care. Every bolt, every weld, every cable was done with Monty in mind. The goal was simple: get the Malibu ready in time for Drag Week. They were aiming for Cordova International Raceway, the very track where James and Monty had met for the first time. The date was marked September 11th. The pressure didn't slow them down. They kept at it, fixing the problems and getting everything into shape. The Malibu was more than a machine. It had become a symbol. For James, it was a way to bring his friend back to life, even just for a moment. Racing that car, pushing it hard down the track, wasn't just about speed. It was about memory, honor, and friendship. When the event began, the plan was simple: get the Malibu to run low 7-second passes. That would show the world how much Monty had meant to him. It was about making all the work worth it. It was about proving something, not to the crowd, but to himself. Every time he worked on the car, every time he turned a wrench, he thought about Monty. Everything he did was to carry the memory of a friend who had once helped steer him forward. And now, with the Malibu back in his hands, James had found the perfect way to drive that memory into the future.